folks, this is Cole and A Course Corner, and I'd just like to wish you all Merry Christmas and beautiful seasons of the tradition of the birth of Christ, which really this course of love is all about. But this time it's not about someone else. This time it's about us and how to get to that place where the Christ is born in us, and instead of using our head for thinking, we begin to not only think with our heart but also speak. We speak to each other from heart, from one heart to the other heart. It's an exchange of more the energetic feeling of love rather than a discussion of love. However, a little bit of adjustment and preparation is needed to be able to retain this awake state when heart is vibrating in our chest as light, and that fills whole body with that delightful elevation that it does, and slowly informs us what is it really like to be a child of God. Barry had put out a really nice little talk on a golden lake, and this is a subject that I absolutely love because ever since I was a kid, I had a golden dream. I just went to sleep and had this most exquisite state of being where everything was illuminated in like a golden, I call it a golden lava. But the lava becomes everything. What appears as animate, it's got kind of like a movement and a radiance of golden glitter. And so does the body, and so does the mind become different than it is now. And so becomes the heart different, becomes real. But most of all, comes to the great mother of everything, which is the will of God. Everything that moves is this profound, inexplicable, and yet fully possible to experience golden light. So I'd say, how about for this Christmas, it will be under the tree, a golden pond, golden lake, that part of us that sustains life in us as a Christ child, as a birth of our true awakening, that is not based on a date, like one day on such and such date there is going to be such a big shift, right? And you look out and there is really not much happening, right? Because it is all about inner. We can't really change the outer, no matter how much we convince ourselves that the golden age will just appear to seem to be, and we find ourselves in it because we put enough time into some study. Yeah. And so it's the whole idea of Christmas is that when you look at the tree, it's like it's got this star on top. That really is just a crisp, clear mind that has been trained and has been adjusted to another way of seeing everything. And instead of seeing a grievance and seeing people as doing stuff, you begin to see the being, and also from that place one becomes inspired, will have more inspiring thoughts, inspiring idea, and begin to do things that we love to do. I resigned from work where I worked for 12 years, and it was a beautiful job, 12 years working with kids in a Steiner school. Some countries call it Waldorf school. And I was teaching classical guitar there, and I had just like a wonderful 12 years where every day I look forward to my work. But after 12 years, it just came to an end. It was just like, okay, it's time to say goodbye now. And but then I had this inspiring idea, and I began to make programs for Slovakian community, because that's where I originally come from, and I can still speak the language quite well. And so suddenly I'm doing all these talks in Slovakian and learning how to pronounce things again, and suddenly there's a whole team of people translating Course in Miracles into Slovakian, and we're just finishing the workbook, which is 365 lessons of A Course in Miracles, some of them as long as 3 or 4 pages of written word, and yes, some of them are quite short. But it was an amazing endeavor, but it was such a cruise, because it comes from what? It comes from an inspiration. That thought didn't come from my head. It just came from this moment when I went like, oh, I'm doing this now. I'm being a musician. I know how to record, and so I go, I'm gonna use my recording system to talk about Course of Miracles, talk about Course of Love. I also have done a few talks on that subject, as well as Right You So Will, which many of you know from my previous talks, and which is really the work of the Golden Mother, the mother of everything. So I have been with this for 30 years now, and what those books taught me is really quite profound. It left me with some kind of map inside of me that understands feelings like I'm surprised myself what actually happens with all this when feelings begins to express themselves to me, right? But again, it is the feeling that inspires this crisp mind, It's the great she, How many of us men got really inspired when we met somebody who really spoke to our heart and embodied kind of a personality that we somewhere deeply inside were inspired by? And what did we do? Got some new clothes. We actually had a shower, and we can write poems, and like it inspires, it ignites something in us. On a deeper level, that very thing is the mother within, is this inner feminine light, which I would really like to dedicate this talk to. And so this particular aspect of us is that when we finally reach it, and I'm not talking about these feelings we have every day, like I'm feeling like this and I'm feeling like that. No, those are the feelings you can't name because they're brand new, they're birthing, they are opening right now. You learn how to step back and give them a space to become and show you who you truly are through their expression. Now when that begins to happen, the mind gets inspired. So that's the idea of that Christmas tree. Has the star on the top, the crisp, clear mind that sees with vision, with seeing truly. Yeah, that's what vision really is. We're not looking at the sickness, death, and misery. We're looking at the real world that's eternal. Why is it called eternal? Because nothing dies in it. Now we slow ourselves down as a vibration, and so we become physical, and we don't seem to be able to unwind ourselves. So what these courses do, they help us to undo what never was, what appeared to be, but really never was, and help us to come back to this vibration that is what we are, as when we remember ourselves as God created us. And so when this crisp mind is present, because it creates an amazing presence, right? And becomes presence for these feelings, the whole tree leads up, right? That's why we have this symbolism of putting lights on a tree or candles. And we have it flashing because it's like, you are enlightened. You're full of light. You feel it. You emanate it. It turns you on into another way of being altogether. And so that's the tree. And what's under the tree? Yeah, the lake, the golden lake, the actual symbolism of presence, right? And more often than not, the presence actually wrapped. And that is this whole idea of being able to unwrap the present, take it out, and then share it with those that thought in the most beautiful way how to bring you something that would delight you. And for them, that main present is your delight in what they've received. So when we have this crisp mind and our body is illuminated, this golden lake opens up, and that has many myriads, endless amount of gifts for us, but they need to be unwrapped, and the medium for the unwrapping is expression. It's going to have a good look what I've received, and then share it with those around me or with the world. Yeah, ideally with the world, because where is the world except in our mind? Yeah, we have so many images, what we think the world is, but they are just in our mind, and this world is not like that at all. Yeah, and particularly recently, we're all, overwhelmed by the amount of media that we watch, and we have so many options and enormous amount of information, and that information actually blocks us from really experiencing our own inner light. That's why these manuals like A Course in Miracles helps us to undo these structures that are actually blocking us from the awareness of the love's presence that's living us. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a hard thing to put myself in the position that I want to talk about the golden light, but it is really something we allow ourselves to feel. And coming back to that dream I had as a child, even as a child, I was already wanting I'd just like to have another one of those dreams. I'd like to have another one of those dreams. And I was adult, and I had few more on the way. And every time they happened, they were usually, interestingly enough, when I put myself in a situation when I was completely selfless and totally giving of myself, whatever that looked like, and I was just completely exhausted, and someone said to me, hey, you know what? You go and you take a 15-minute break. And I remember I just like fell in the bed. I was asleep on my way to it. And boom, the golden dream again. However, in Australia, about, I would say now 20 years ago, I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were doing these books called Right Use of Will, which is all about the mother and this kind of golden light. Course in Miracles, I always recognize a little bit more like a silvery light. So it has a different texture and different expression. But this one always takes me to this golden, very thick way of feeling myself. And we were doing these books and we felt like we completely failed at them. However, at the very end, we were just packing and sitting there exhausted and devastated because we had this massive expectation for something really great to happen, but suddenly it happened. We fell into this golden dream while awake. It was my girlfriend who goes, Cole, did you hear that? And I said, listen, I'm experiencing something, but I didn't actually hear it. And she goes, oh, the mother spoke to us. Because, we all, how many of you guys had heard from the Father? You pray to God as a father figure, and you get inspiration, and you get some kind of answer, you get some kind of revelation, and that leaves a very long-lasting effect on you, right? But this was different, because I had quite a few of those, and they were amazing, no doubt about it. But this was like, I remember my body began to bow down, and so slowly I'm going like, why is my body bowing like this? Like as if I was taken by this invisible, loving hand that said, all right, son, now it's time to bow to the great mother of everything. And it was such a beautiful bow. It's just the most exquisite bow. I wanted to bow. I wanted to so bow. I just so wanted to be in a deepest gratitude and a most exquisite. These words leave me a bit blank of trying to describe what occurred. But somehow to my girlfriend, she goes, do you know what? She's like, I heard from the mother. I was like, wow. Like, what did she say? And she says, she said like, oh, at last. And from then, like we entered into this golden dream. We were flooded as if our blood turned into this liquid, warm, very nourishing gold liquid that was just impossible to see, yet it was completely tangible, right? And everything slowed down. Now, at the beginning of this talks, I was talking about me not rushing ahead, yeah. And for some visual people, this must be extremely boring, but it's just like that moment where you decide to listen through something else than ears, because this is what the communication is about. we are capable of sharing these experiences, and in a way where we all can have this, and not only have it, but meet in that place and be together as people, and just to know that the other person is in the same golden place, and the quiet that comes in. Like I never heard quiet like that. So it's kind of like it's musical in a way, and it's radiant, and it moves very slowly. So if I was in some kind of high-speed association, taking many informations and thinking fast and sorting challenges of human life, I would miss it for not being attuned to the vibratory frequency of that level of association of God or God expression through the mother, through the mother of everything. So hence, that was the first time when I actually experienced it, not only in a sleep, but with someone else, which I'm forever grateful. But since then, this is becoming a normal. It's becoming a whole new communion or community of people in this communion where we meet and we go, hello, shall we? And I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. And off we go into be taken into this exquisite way of experiencing our oneness that feels like the true daily bread that is in the prayer. Give us today our daily bread. As we forgive, as we no longer hold a grievance about a brother and only desire that we meet together in this golden lava or whatever that light is manifesting in you as at this point. Hence the invitation to begin to listen with the heart, which is very different. Even just that idea. I remember when I opened up the Course of Love, and it says like this course is for the heart. Like wow. So you learn how to hear with different ear. That you begin to find a brand new thing happening in you, which is really the birth of Christ in you. Birth of this exquisite, brand new you with a capital S, the self with capital S. Yeah. And if I was going to speak from the mother, I think I would lose half of the audience, because in her way of expressing, like I said the other day, like feelings don't talk. Yeah. Feelings have a completely different way of telepathically expressing through a magnetic waves, that are vibrations of your inner experience. Instead of describing stories or telling people anything, simply go there. And this is something that I like to offer you as a gift, the Christmas tree, that does need unwrapping And the unwrapping is to do it, to actually attempt to allow ourselves to express through feelings, connect to the feelings without the mental part of ourselves having anything to do with it. The ego mind, the mind that recognizes you as you, it just steps back. It's just trained enough now that it just wants to rejoin again. It no longer wants to be separate. So it's like, okay, I get the point. It's not going to be working. I don't want to be my, individual, which is, individual. I don't want to be dual person. I want to be one with God, which is really being one with yourself as God created you. When you're one with yourself, the search for God, the search for light, search for any more information becomes kind of obsolete in a way. Because you are it. And then to maintain it, one has to be able to give it, right? And so I often ask, and this is the gift, I often ask people, what's good? And it's almost like, huh? Yeah, it's like, what was the highlight of your day or highlight of your week? Or what's your deepest realization right now? What have you read or maybe heard or maybe experienced that's just like, oh, guess what? Now, instead of telling me, get that idea and drop it deep into the mother so she can birth it in a feeling way, so she can ooze it out into the periphery of the distance of where you find yourself. Like when you see pictures of Buddha, there's this golden glow around him. Well, you just become that golden glow. You don't have to celebrate someone a long time ago. This is only time is now, and it's the second coming of Christ is you finding your treasure and then beginning to give it, because hoarding is what got us where we find ourselves here. We're basically just full of it and sinking. So it's time to let things go, empty our mind of everything it thinks it's great and or bad, yeah, and fall into this new place of letting go of everything we think we know. And so you get this tiny little idea about, oh yeah, you know what? This is good. And then I ask you to do one more step, which is often missed. And that is to how did that actually make you feel? And if you do this correctly, you will get this tiny glimmer of a feeling. That's just when you're unwrapping a present and you're starting to go oh, I know what this is. You know that feeling? And you're already smiling and you're just going oh. So you drop it into this subtle feeling. And then you step back and you share the gift of that expression by allowing it to radiate in every direction and radiate, and you become still and present in that expression without losing it, without going to the next thing, without needing to hear another thing or know another thing. You are now in a full manifestation of something that might be very simple. Yeah. Yesterday I was talking to a lady on a Zoom, and she said, "Oh yeah, I had a special moment. I just met these two strangers, and the meeting was just so beautiful." And then I go, "And how did it make you feel?" And she just went, "Oh my God." And the silence that accompanied that moment was so loud that we all knew what that experience was like. So we begin to share in it. Yeah? And these gifts that actually increase their quality by being given away, by being shared, that is actually a creation design, is to share truly. Like you might think, okay, yeah, well, my heart, it's got a lot of emotions and I've got a lot of this. Yes, that's the periphery of the heart. But just keep going. Just keep going. Let the heart take you. So say, hey, heart, take me to the treasure. Take me to that place in which I am Christ, where I am the child of God. And then just step back and let it lead the way. Let it take you. And hey, if it doesn't work the first time you try it, don't worry. An hour later, let's try again. Go, hello heart, where are you? I remember it was such a beautiful experience. I was reading these Raji Savo books and he just talked about heart. Heart this and heart that, and heart said this and heart did that, and then the heart felt like this, and I'm going, it's like, okay. It's like, I went, heart, where are you? And it was such a sincere question. And heart, seriously out loud went, I'm like, right here. I was like, oh my God, I've been searching for you everywhere. It's just one of those days when you're like looking for your glasses. And they like behind your t-shirt, or they on your head, or somewhere right in front of you. So it's just like that. Like the heart is so close to you. It's the closest thing that we actually have. And yet we miss it for the projections. We miss it for the world we see. So hence comes Jesus and goes, hey, forgive this world. Set it free, let it go. Forgive those that trespass against you. Forgive all those, forgive. Let's just do that today. It's like, okay, just for 5 minutes. Or maybe just a minute. It's like, you know what? It seems like there is weird things happen to me, but right now, I'm just gonna forgive it all. I'm just gonna let it go. So you know what, guys? I set you all free. Bingo. You would need to begin to suddenly feel subtly different. Now, if there is one word that works in the real return to wholeness, is subtlety. I love my podcast, I was talking about softening, and going softer. So we begin to learn and get used to how to enter into these invisible realms that you can't see, but they're all there. And from doing so, you develop these new eyes, or your chakras begin to, your centers of receptivity begin to be receptive again. They begin to see things differently. And So it's all about this slowing down, going quiet, but not just sit quietly. It's like, okay, close my eyes. You put a timer on for an hour and go like, yeah, meditate it. And, maybe you had a quiet moment in there. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that, that peace that passeth understandings, where you begin to reverberate, where the elevation of the form takes place, where the heart begins to sing its song, and where the presence of the great mother of everything is deeply, deeply felt. Yeah. So one of the things is very important, that once we begin to feel these gifts, they don't need to be spoken about. In Course in Miracles, in lessons 40-something, 4 or so, he says, perception is not an attribute of God, right? This perception has been made when we split from our wholeness. Yeah, we call it God because you are it. And there is no other than you. And although this is exquisite creation, however, you are the same. You're created in the same image as God created you, right? So you're the same, you have the same capacity to create. And when the awakening kicks in, you begin to see that you suddenly make a brand new world, to a point where some people you might have known will basically not really find your way to you anymore. Yeah. So you don't get rid of people, they move on, and then the new personalities come in, the new characters that come in. And just like that lady yesterday said, yeah, I just met these two people and I was just like, wow. I was like that. You begin to get a new reflection of who? Of yourself. So the art of this sharing the gifts of what are in store for us, and that's how we actually find them, by giving them, by unwrapping them in such a way that we put them into this feeling part of ourselves, and we step back and let feeling do the thing for us. Actually, the less we effort and the less we do, I said that word do on purpose because you can't do it. Yeah, the less you do means you don't do. There's some beautiful presence in Course in Miracles, and one of them is just one single line. It says, I need do nothing. How do you not do nothing? I need do nothing. Just for a moment, just close your eyes and allow yourself to go in a place where you do nothing. And you're not even doing that you do nothing. You just basically turn off, which really is the surrender, right? But even the surrender is given. It's like, if I say, hey, surrender, it's like, huh? How do I do that? Because we think it's a doing thing. But surrender is actually a miracle. It comes it stops us from this crazy effort to show God that we can do it without the light. That we can just use our head and surround ourselves with seeming beauty and go, see God, I can do this all without you. And then house burns down or whatever, yeah, or your body gets sick. And none of that has any value. But when you find eternity, when you get sick, you will go, okay, I cannot die. And, that would be an appearance of something going again, just like your friends, this part of us that we call body will go, but we're not going to go anywhere. So last time when I read Prelude, paragraph 14, it ended with this: if all that you see changed within your world is a little less insanity than before, then you have not awakened, but still are caught in a nightmare your ego has made. This was such a shocker when I read this, maybe only 4 years ago or so. It really hit me. I'm going like, oh, because I do see things differently. I do see less madness and less of everything. But I still see some stuff that is saying, hey, you're still seeing this. You're still caught in a nightmare your ego has made. So I'm actually, instead of being my full wholeness, I am momentarily in these realities that appears to be pretty sick. Yeah. So by choosing to reject yourself, you have chosen to try to make sense of the nightmare rather than to awaken from it, because this will never work. And then he goes, paragraph 15, by rejecting who you are demonstrating that you think you can believe in some of the truth, but not all of it. Many of you have accepted, for instance, that you are more than your body while retaining your belief in the body. You thus have confused yourself further by accepting that you are two selves. An ego self representing by the body, and spirit self that represents to you an invisible world in which you can believe but not take part. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, this entering into these subtle energies, because until we develop that sense of feeling, which will begin to show us in a feeling way what that actually feels like and even looks like, because there is this new thing that comes. Same as your mind can make images and imagine stuff. The will, the feeling part of you, or your heart, there's something, I had to make a word for it. I call it imagery, because it's a feeling imagery, which is very different to imagination. That is the part of us that would be able to see the golden lava, that will be able to enter the golden lake, the great feminine. Because many of you must have experienced what happens when you learn how to be, when you're truly present for example, for a woman, if you're a man and she opens her heart and you just go like, whoa, stunned, you're blown away, yeah? It's those moments when we fall in love because we think it has something to do with the world. We don't realize we just had a holy instant when we remembered God. But because we're so used to projecting onto another, there is another person there, Also, for women, when you open those spaces and man was able to see you, because those are invisible, yeah. Anyway, apart from that, You have thus placed the ego at odds with spirit, giving the ego an internal and invisible foe to do battle with. This was hardly the purpose of any teachings of the truth that have as their aim the exact opposite of this conflict-inducing situation. The truth unites. It does not divide. The truth invites peace, not conflict. Like many times we go we just get that feeling like, oh God, I think it's not making me really comfortable. This is not making me peaceful, yeah? And we usually know that that's just going to create a conflict. It's going to divide us. It's not going to unite us. A good leader will unite people in one thing. And so is with the truth, yeah? Partial truth is not only impossible, it is damaging. For sooner or later, in this lopsided battle, the ego will win out. The spirit, as you have defined it, is too amorphous, too lacking in definition and believability to win this battle against what you perceive as your reality. You who have come close to truth, only to turn your back and you refuse to see it, turn around and look once again. You have traveled your path and the end of the journey is in sight. You stand at the precipice with a view of the new world, glittering with all the beauty of heaven, set off at just a little distance in golden light. That's just what I was talking about. I personally find this golden light below me at this point. And I also know about this precipice. It really is that place where we can go as far as we can go, but at some point we're taken back into the wholeness. We're taken back. God takes the last step. God completely closes the gap between what was me and what is actually still just me. Yeah? So I turn my whole mind into oneness. There's one thing that often happens, particularly in A Course in Miracles communities, where the word mind is used. What's often not really realized is that if you look in a dictionary, the word mind actually means thought and a feeling as well, in unity, in oneness, in alignment. So the mind that is whole, like the whole mind, has the feeling in it. And this is going to be the only lesson. Actually, when I was listening to that Barry's talk the other day, it just says the same thing. It says no matter how far you go, eventually it does come back to this place where we have to enter into this golden pond, or the great she, or the mother. The feminine is the way. Many men, but also many women, don't realize they function that they have in order to function correctly even as a man and a woman. Because when men learn how to be truly present, when they're in that place as God created them, that will help a woman to go into a part of her feeling, part of herself, that she somewhere might have decided to never really show. She might show a certain fragrance of it, or shade, or color, But the actual essence of it, that's a real art, to be able to the core of the feeling. And just like the flower that opens its the pole, and it goes completely to one could say genitalia, and fully opens up without any obstructions, like, hey, the light has come, the sun has come, and there is this exquisite openness. This is actually possible in us humans, and this is how we truly unite with our partner, where it just goes so far beyond sex and so far beyond some our imagined pleasures. Because every time you go on a pleasure, you will have an opposite. You've just entered into duality. Pleasure will have pain, beauty will have ugliness. However, there are these states that are fully feeling generated. They don't have an opposite because they fully joined with the opposite. So the polarity is a very important thing, but we have to have this electromagnetic field. We have to have this male-female, but in a full alignment where they click together, they close the gap between each other, between one and the other, and they in a full magnetic vibration. And they will experience wholeness, and that is what it means being sustained by the love of God. Because in those places, food, even air, even pretty much anything becomes like so unimportant. Yes, of course you eat and of course you breathe, but it's like it's not the main thing. This union becomes what takes over. He says, when you could have seen this side, you turn your back and sign looking back on a world familiar to you and choosing it instead. You do not see that this choice, even made with every good intention of going back and making a difference, is still a choice for hell, where you could instead have chosen heaven. Yet, you know that choosing heaven is the only true way to change the world. It is the exchange of one world for another. This is what you fear to do. You are so afraid to let go of the world that you have known, that even though it is a world of conflict, sickness and death, you will not exchange it, will not relinquish it. While God remains unknown to you, and you remain unknown to yourself, so too does heaven remain concealed. Thus, in turning your back on heaven, you turn back on yourself and God as well. Your good intentions will not overcome the world and bring an end to hell. In all the history of the world, many have done good, heroic, and at times miraculous deeds without the world changing from a place of misery and despair. What is more arrogant? To believe that you alone can do what millions of others have not been able to do, or to believe that you, in union with God, can? What makes more sense? To choose to try again what others have tried and failed to accomplish, or to choose to leave behind the old and choose a new way, a way in which you become the accomplished, and in your accomplishment bring the new into being. That's just exquisite. I only just did 3 paragraphs, but I really wanted to give a bit of a talk on this idea of Christmas and the birth of Christ in us, because this is a time of a year when we give this the significance and tradition. But really, this whole Christmas idea is the awakening and birthing the Christ in us, and not necessarily celebrating the actual example life that Jesus was, that came to just show us how we can be. He didn't come here to say, hey, follow me. He said, hey, just follow my ways, Say, I'm the light of the world. What? Say, I am the light of the world. It's like, I'm the light of the world. Yes, you are. And then your friend, what are you? It says, hey, I am the light of the world. Yes, you are. And then there's the next guy. We actually did this in the men's group. We've got to share this because it was so funny. And so we were just going around saying, like, you just have to declare that you are the light of the world. I'm the light of the world. And the whole room went, yes, you are. And then eventually I go like, God, maybe that's how the word Yeshua came around. Yes, you are. You're the light of the world. Yes, you are. Anyway, silly joke, but it gave us a good chuckle. And it's very powerful when we actually step into those sandals that Jesus walked in, and that allows us to experience what it's like to be the child of God by us doing it. Not waiting for some dude one day to come and save us from this existential misery, but we are the one. We are the second coming. We are the Christ. But not when the ego thinks it's Christ, right? When it's actual golden experience of remembering our Father, Mother, light, the golden bond, the birth of the new. So I'll bring this to a close, and I wish you all Merry Christmas, and I wholeheartedly wish that you allow yourself to unwrap the gift as I was offering us to do, because only by allowing ourselves to manifest, again, there's that word do, but to actually attempt it, allowing the feeling to manifest for us these tiny little joys of life, because they are just the beginning. They're just like the star. But if the star is alone and it doesn't give it it doesn't lit up the tree, and if you don't see the presence down the bottom, then we're just filling up this star until it becomes dark and heavy. And we don't want to do that. Because really, until we realize that we were already given everything, we're given everything at the beginning of creation, and unless we give it, unless we share it, unless we allow ourselves to realize what we already have, we'll keep searching in books and talks and some future times, not realizing the miracle is in us in this very moment. If we could stop resisting the actual, whatever the experience is right now, and trying to have another one, trying to have something else than what's occurring right now, because right now we are birthing all that we are, and by not realizing it, we deny that in ourselves and virtually drown it, I was saying, like, If you don't give it, you choke on it. And then you weaken yourself in your own mind, and you will search and search and search instead of give and give and give. This is what Christmas is all about. It's about giving of who we truly are. The Christ is born in you right in this moment. If you can allow it, if you can step back and say, okay, God, show me the way. I'll step back, and I'm not going to use my past learnings, even as light, to guide me now, demonstrating me in this learning device we call body, to show me how to fully incarnate myself into my wholeness. We want to empty and clean this star up, empty our mind of all these vain imaginings of the world becoming a better place, and instead we become the foundation of the cause, and see the effect as a changed world where everything shifts from dark to light. And we train ourselves to feel again, to truly, truly know how to use feelings. It's called the right use of will. It's like, how do we use these feelings the way they were designed to be serving us on this exquisite journey to this everlasting, brand new freshness of divine accomplishment, where you remember you are the accomplished, and if you're not sharing it, you will not know you have it. So kingdom of heaven is within us, but if we don't offer it to others, we are the one who will not have it, who will lack it. And then we'll have needs. I need this and I need that. But it's only because we denied something in ourselves that can completely fulfill us and provide for us everything we truly desire. So with that, I wish you all beautiful Christmas, and we'll be talking to you soon.